ruining heroic play. Pathfinder's new lethal dying rules. Okay, so I saw this on Reddit, and it was something that I found interesting and kind of put into context things that have been running around in my head. And the idea that was kind of presented in part in this post was that it was thought by the poster that the more lethal a system is to the player characters, the less heroic it is. And that the heroism was somehow tied to character arc and being able to see a character through to the end. And I vehemently disagree, politely. Nobody's a bad person for thinking that. And obviously I could be wrong myself. But this is the way I see it. The lethality mechanics is directly tied to the heroics of a game, but the lethality, the more lethal a system is, the more chance for heroic characters there is. And the less lethal a system is, the less heroic the characters can be. So, to look at the extremes, take a game like Paranoia. You die, and your clone gets decantered out, ready to go. So, you just kind of keep going. And sure, there's a limit on the number of clones, usually per session, per adventure, per campaign, depending on what's going on. But yeah, you're there's dying is part of the fun, and specifically it's dying in terrible, sad, unjust, bureaucratically defined ways. Death is, it's an expected event, and it's not heroic at all. Flip side, you have, old school AD&D, D&D, 0 hit points, you're dead, fail saves, you die, really lethal comparatively to modern iterations of the system. And songs are sung of the characters that made it through alive in dungeons. Spells are named after these characters. Everybody's heard of Big B and Tensor. Okay, maybe not everybody, but I mean, see what I'm saying is that these names, stick around, and they were played by people, these characters, in the early days, and for better or worse. But the idea of making it through a dungeon in a super lethal game system, is far more heroic than making it through that same dungeon, but there is no instant death. There is, you get death saves when you go down to 0 hit points, and so on. So the lethality of a system plays a part. It's not the entire part, but it plays a part in how heroic characters can be. If death is not an issue, then there's no heroism from risking one's character's life to do the good, right? And to the point where if there's absolutely no risk, like if your character just can't die and they are set on some predetermined story arc, plot arc, that the table the group is unwilling to deviate from, then there's no heroism. That's not heroic. It's a story, and you can tell the story, and it'll have heroic elements, and you can make the character a hero. But in the context of playing a game, it's not heroic, because the game inherently has chance and has the ability to thwart the plans of both the game master and the players. Now, Pathfinder specifically, like, there's not a huge difference in the lethality rules. I think one calculation was it basically made it so that in the older, rule that people were assuming was the intended rule, that was lighter, less lethal. You could expect a character to go down twice in combat, and then third time they go down is when they're really at risk of dying. And now it's just dropped that down to you go down twice, and that second time you'll really be at risk of dying. And I don't know. It just seems like it makes it so that players need to be more aware of where their hit points are. Like in the looser ruling, you don't really have to pay attention to your hit points as much, and you'll go down and get back up, and then go down again, and then get back up, and now you've gone down twice, so maybe you better run. Where on the flip side is with the new rules, it's like, oh, my hit points are getting low, I could go down, and I don't want that to happen, so better fix that first before continuing on. And that seems more versatility, real to me, based on the mechanics of hit points, is that your character is feeling that level of pain to where they're almost going unconscious, one more hit, etc. So deal with the pain. You can fight through it, but you're putting yourself at great risk, hence the heroism. So, but if you know that you can go down twice, and then on a third or fourth time is when it starts to get serious. I mean, in my head, if you're in combat and something from combat damage wise makes you go unconscious, and then you wake back up and then decide to stay in the combat, that doesn't match with my expectation of everybody. It would seem like if you took an average, most people would wake back up and go, oh, I need to get out of this because I came this close to dying and I don't want to die, so let's get out. Unless there's some huge, exceptional, moral or ethical reason for the character to continue fighting. So yeah, I don't see a problem with the new higher lethal rules, but I also don't see a problem with players wanting to keep playing with the old rules, or the wrongly assumed rules, from what I gathered, based on a bunch of like rules lawyers videos and stuff like that, showing that it probably was intended to be the way that it's been currently clarified. So that's fine. Either way you want to play it, it's fine. Now, the flip side caveat is, as a GM, I don't want to or as a GM, I recognize that for the players, the more complex a system is in creating characters, the more you don't want to punish them by having a system in place to where they are dying readily and having to go through the complex character creation process again. But that's on the DM. That's on the DM to recognize, hey, it took these guys 3 hours, 4 hours, a whole session, maybe a week, plus a session to come up with and make their characters and get everything set and run things by you and make sure that everything's working as they want it to work and what their intent is. And then the first session that they're gaming in, first session of combat, go do it again. You don't want to do that to the players. And so, but that's on me to know the system and how lethal it is. And so it would behoove me to consider my encounters in a way to greatly lower the risk. And the nice thing about it is at first level, they don't have to be great heroes. They're on their way to becoming great heroes. And so they bash some rats. Great. They see the system, they get a feel for it, and they get a feel for what their characters can do and what their characters can take damage-wise. And then, after a couple levels, they start really seeing, we need to do this, and this is going to be tough, so are we ready? Are we, And if they survive it and make it, then they are the heroes. And if they die doing it, then they were heroic for trying. And if they don't do it, then maybe they're just smart. Not that heroic, but they're smart. And that's a great event for role playing where they can feel they can have their characters feel, shame or guilt in not doing the heroic action, but also knowing that they might have died doing it, so at least they're alive to try to rectify what they couldn't achieve in that first instance. So yeah, it's weird to me to think that people would interpret a less lethal system as allowing for more heroic stories. That's it. Yeah. Right. Have a good day. Like and subscribe if you'd like. Hopefully I remember to put links to the campaign book and other things that I've written for currently just D&D, I think. I got some mount rules and some rules on creating your own races or species for D&D 5e. Anyway, I feel like my voice kind of went out on that, so yeah, I'll take off.